Let's draw vans. Hello and welcome to the VANS edition of Go-Go Mock Rocket Sheep. We are drawing vans as in the vehicle, a van. And the reason we're doing that is because I was hanging out with some artist friends the other night, and it came out yet again that some very, very talented artist friends of mine do not like drawing vehicles. They just can't stand it. And I think it's because there's pressure to have that vehicle that you're drawing look really good and look like it is real. And I think that probably they just didn't spend a lot of time drawing vehicles or vans because they weren't interested in it. Maybe they thought it was boring. Whatever the reason, I think that drawing vehicles is super, super fun. And I don't think it needs to like turn out exactly accurate to what an actual van looks like for it to look like it's consistent with your style and stuff like that. So anyway, that's why we're drawing vehicles, and we're drawing vans because a lot of people will draw like sports cars or like army tanks or like cool vehicles. Vans aren't really cool, you know what I mean? But they're a lot of fun to draw, and so that's what we're doing. Vans. Oh, before we get to it though, let's take a look at the art that you sent in last week.
Art you sent in. Easy mode.
Okay, easy mode van. Let's start with a sort of a oval, like a bean shape kind of a thing. There we go. And then the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add some wheels on there. This is going to be a very cartoony looking van. Hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to do a wheel right there, a wheel right there, and a wheel over there. And you can't see that one over there. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to put the headlights on the front, two little ovals like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put a windshield. So we're going to go like this. A little oval like that. Nice. So then from this corner right here, we are going to bring it down like that. And then got our bumper, our fender. Draw a straight line from here to here. Nice. And then it's going to go back like that. Okay, so then we have to do our windows on the side. So we have this line right here. Let's add another sort of a roundy rectangle thing there. Okay, so this line is going to be the front door. And this is the sliding door, which goes like that. Okay. So it's looking kind of like a vehicle now. Then what we're going to do is draw a hood, draw a grill. So we're just going to do between these two headlights, a little thing like this. Maybe we put some lines like that. And then we need a bumper on the front. So let's go like this. A lot of times what I do is, especially like this is turning into sort of like a 3D-ish sort of a vehicle, is if I'm like, oh, there has to be a bumper here, I'll draw a like a rectangle, and then I'll just extend it and then bring it back so it's kind of like a 3D shape, and you're just sort of like sculpting in 3D but drawing, so you're not actually sculpting, because you know sculpting means you take Play-Doh and you squish it together. But this is sort of like sculpting with lines. Okay, so then I'm just making these wheels 3D. Now what are we missing on this minivan? Windshield maybe comes like this. There we go. Okay, this door goes like this. There's a little handle here. There's a little mirror, side view mirror. And then sometimes minivans have roof racks. 2 little bars on the top. Nice. So that's kind of a fun. So to do that again really quickly, we just do a circle, headlights, windshield, bring that back, bring that around, door, and then we got wheels, and then like that, and then like that. So it's definitely cartoony looking. It's not realistic, and it's just sort of based off of kind of observations and making it work and adding details, but sometimes it's all you got to do. So that's our easy mode. I'm going to ink it up and color it up, and we'll see how it looks. Okay, there's our easy mode. I should probably stop messing around with it too much. I just wanted to illustrate a couple of things. I didn't spend a whole lot of time coloring the details on the interior, but if you just add a little bit of depth to it by, having, I'm using blue. Blue is the color that I've chosen to use for the glass. And then the things that are like sort of detailed, I've just made a little bit darker. You can do that, and then at a quick glance, it looks a little bit more complicated than it actually is the art. Also, I was adding things to my pencil layer. So the pencil layer looked like this. And then, I added, let's see here. I added, this antenna and these, what are they called? Windshield wipers. There we go. And the treads on the tires and these little running lights. And just like, as I was thinking about a van and realizing, I didn't add that to my sketch layer. That's okay. You just add it to the ink, and then you can color it and make it a part of whatever you come up with. So yeah, easy mode. We start off kind of simple and we just make it as complicated as we can. This one got a little more complicated than maybe it needed to. But really, we were just drawing this, right? Just taking a basic shape and kind of chiseling away at it until it looks like something a little bit more complicated, which is kind of a fun way to draw.
Medium mode.
Okay, so for medium mode, we're going to take that van that we just drew and we're going to make it a little more complicated. So I was kind of thinking it'd be kind of cool to draw a van from the underside, kind of it's jumping over, like we drew it so that you saw the ceiling. I want to see the underside of the van. So let's say that there is a ramp like so, and the van, maybe a steeper angle, and the van has come up the ramp like this, and it's going this way. How do we start doing that? Well, we start with what we just exactly made. We have this sort of line that comes up, goes like this, goes like this. Okay, so this is going to be the back of the van. This is going to be the front of the van. And then we're going to make a bendy rectangle like this. It's going to be very funky perspective, and that's okay. So now what we want to do is take our easy mode van that we've already drawn. Okay, so I'm putting the van that we drew, just keeping that in mind, because now we're going to draw that same van but in a different pose. So we have up here, we have right here this wheel, then we have the back wheel over here, then we have the headlight halfway up like this, headlight, put the grill in between those headlights. So I think there was 1, 2, 3, 4 stripes like that. Then the hood comes up like this, but we're not going to be able to see all of the hood because of the way that it's bent currently. So then we draw this little, why isn't it working? This right here, this part right there,
we're drawing over here, like so. And from this angle, we'd be able to see kind of over like that a little bit. So now we have the window, which goes there, and it's gonna, maybe let's make this taller and make it like that, and then it comes like back smaller to kind of give an illusion of this is further away. So bring this line, we're going to make it parallel to this line, and it's going to meet back here. Bring this line like that. Trying to match the curve that we already got down here. Better. Okay, pop that up. And then this comes like that. Okay. So then this line comes down here. And then we have this line right here that we're going to put right here. So I'm drawing off of a reference, but it's a reference that I made. I invented this reference, right? Or rather, you are using your previous drawing as a reference, and now you're kind of distorting it to do your will, which is kind of fun. Okay, so then we have that there. This needs to be smaller. This little wheel well needs to be bigger. And then we have our bump for the bumper, which bumps out. And then looks like I put some fog lights in the bumper, and then the license plate like that. Now, what we're going to do is add that oval for the tire. We're going to make this one bigger. And then add an oval for the tire over here. And then we're going to make that 3D, make it into a wheel. So when I make it 3D, we start with our 2D shape. We add some lines, and we draw another 2D shape. Then we get rid of the overlap, and then we have a little cylinder, which is a nice little tire, right? Anyways, sometimes I realize that when I'm doing these tutorials, they're not really tutorials. It's more of like a let's draw together, sort of a draw along sort of a thing. But I go kind of fast, and I don't always make it clear what I'm doing. So I'm trying to get better at slowing that down. Okay, so we need to add that back tire, which is over here. And then over here is where the other back tire will be. Okay. Now we got to add the underside of the vehicle. So I'm going to add a little bit. I used to work at a car dealership, so I kind of know what the underside of a vehicle looks like. Like, for example, when you're under the car, you can see like the engine. So we're going to draw a little engine here. It's just this little blob. I'm just going to add some mechanical details. I guess that would come into the transmission, which this is a front wheel drive because anyways. So we're going to I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's just make it look more complicated. This line I think should come more like that. So that's our axle, and let's say we got I think I put the fuel cap over here, which means there's going to be a big old tank under here, like so, and then some more mechanical details, which we're just going to fudge for now. I'm just going to put some shapes, and I'll turn them in. Oh, we need exhaust, of course. So the exhaust comes from up here and comes to the back corner where it's going to pop out like that. Okay, then we got to add some whatever details we forgot to add on here. So from this corner, the antenna, and then we got to put the side view mirrors with the running lights, indicator lights, and then the handles. And then I can draw a little bit of the inside of the car. So we'll draw the driver's seat. This van's going over a ramp with nobody in the driver's seat, I guess. Okay, so this looks like a crazy mess right now, right? So I'll just slowly show you. Oh, and I guess I should put you can see maybe that first bit of the roof rack. Okay, so now I want to show you how I make this less messy. When you're drawing with pencil and paper and ink, and you're doing it on an actual piece of paper, it's a really good idea to do your pencil layers sort of light, because if you're going to ink your drawing, you then erase the pencil after, and then all you're left with is the ink that's permanent and looks the way you want it to. You have to ink carefully. But because I'm drawing digitally, I don't have to do anything carefully because I have as many undos as I want. So what I've done is I've made my pencils lighter by lowering the opacity. And now I'm going to ink over top of it. So then I just pick the lines that I want to pick. So maybe I'll do the first little bit of this slowly so that you can see how I do that. And then I'll speed up the rest. So I like this wheel. It's very sketchy. So I'm going to start just by drawing a simple shape that isn't too complicated. An oval. And you can hear that I'm undoing quite a bit because I don't like how it's working. Ugh, like my oval's pointy. No. Usually if I go faster, it's kind of like a different skill set. There we go. So now I have this nice oval. Then I'm going to do another little one in the middle. Nice. And maybe I'll add some details to this wheel. Nice. Okay. Then the wheel comes like this and comes back. But then there's this fender here, which is going to come from behind the wheel like this. Nice. And that comes around to this curve over here. And like that. Nice. You'll notice that when I'm erasing lines, the whole line disappears. And that's because I'm drawing in a program called Clip Studio, and they have this awesome vector line where and a vector eraser where it will automatically clean up your lines. It'll only keep where the line intersects. It's pretty cool. Anyway, so look, I'm just picking all of the simple shapes that I know how to draw, and I'm adding them together until it gets more complicated and makes it look more complicated. And then I'm remembering to put in the details that I added on the that we already added on the drawing, the easy mode drawing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now the nice thing about this is it's going to look cartoony and awesome, sort of like imaginative, not really realistic. That's what the hard mode is going to be for. I'm going to pick a van and draw that in the hard mode realistic style. But for my purposes as a cartoonist, I often don't want stuff to look realistic. I want it to look fun. And so I don't take myself too seriously when it comes to figuring out how I'm going to draw these things. I like to have fun with it. Okay, so I'm just going to make that curve up a little bit like that. Yep, beauty. And then I would add the tire treads. Nice. Sweet. So now I'm just going to ink the rest of it. I'm just going to do that same exact process where I take the shapes that I already can kind of see in my sketch and just clean them up and then add the detail. And then, yeah, that's kind of how it works. How I do it anyway. All right, here's my funky jumping minivan. It is not in any way realistic, but I could see, in a comic strip or a comic book, this might be kind of a cool angle, and maybe some speech bubbles could be like, kind of a thing, right? But anyway, I'm really happy with how that turned out. That was a lot of fun.
So here's my hard mode, and it's the perfect example of why I do hard modes. So the big reason I do hard modes is because I want to get practice using non-digital medium. If it wasn't obvious from today that digital medium is really awesome, I love it because there's undo. So when you're inking, you can undo things and you can take a different angle of attack or something if you don't like how it turns out. With pen and paper and ink, you really can't. Once it's down there, it's kind of down there. So I was really happy with this drawing with the pencil sketch. And then I made a poor decision. I was like, I want to try a new technique. I want to try to put the watercolor down first and then using acrylic paint, make it look like it's cell shaded. But then what happened was there's like a weird texture. Once watercolor dries, it can be kind of powdery, and it makes it really hard to try and pull anything across it. So I did some acrylic paint, and I was not happy with how I couldn't get the lines to be very thin. And then I'm like, well, I'll paint the background black. And then I'm like, oh, it's just kind of looking awful. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll do the interior details. And it just the whole thing went downhill. But that's okay, because I mean, it still looks decent. It just doesn't look exactly as I envisioned. And I learned for next time that maybe a more ordered what I would normally do, which would be sketch, ink, paint. Maybe that would be more in keeping. But I wanted to try something else, and it didn't really work. But live and learn, and it was still a lot of fun. So yeah, thanks so much for drawing. We'll see you next time.